Hi everyone, my name is Brad Runnels. Yesterday we received our worms from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. I went through all the basic setup on how to bed your worms, put some roughage and paper, leaves and stuff like that in with their bin, and how to feed the worms. There's a couple things that happened overnight that I want to go through, and there's a couple things that I did not tell you about that I want to make sure that you're informed on also with that. When I bought my peat moss, it came in a 3.8 cubic feet, square feet bundle, as I showed you in the previous films. I did add 1 cup of garden lime to that. Okay, this just came from our local hardware, so you get it from Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, any of those places. And I used about 1 cup, and that just helps to get the whole worm bed warmed up. It starts some of the nutrients in the worm bed that the worms will need. So like I said, I used about 1 cup. And the way I did it, a lot of times you'll see this as a powder or granules. Mine came as granules. So what I did is I just got a bucket or a small little bowl. I put a cup of the lime in there, and I just put some water in there and just kind of slished it around until it all melted down. And I split that between really 3 tubs that I had shown you yesterday, which I'm really only using 2 tubs for the 2,000 worms that I've received from Uncle Jim's Worm Farm. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside here. So like I said, now it's 1 cup for 1 big block of peat moss. Okay. You can mix that in prior to adding your worms, or you can do like I did and just break it down with some water, put it in there, and then when you're adding your water to moisten your peat moss, that's going to all get mixed up there because you're going to be working that, okay? So, what I'm going to do is tell you what happened last night. As you saw in the previous videos, when I built these totes, I put 6 holes on the top. And I put these on top of the worm beds last night. And I moved my worm beds from the area where I had previously shown you where I'm going to be keeping them on top of that ladder and those couple pieces of wood onto my workbench. And if you can screen that over here, it's got a fluorescent light above it. And you can see the 2 worm beds are sitting here. And I had these lids up there, and I thought that was going to be enough light going through there to keep the worms down inside. Well, I had about 6 or 7 different worms that were trying to escape up to the top of the worm lid, so I went ahead and took that off. One other thing that I did is, because of the air that's going on right now, it's a little bit more on the dry side. We don't have a lot of humidity in the air, so I added a piece of cardboard, just a long slip, right down the center of each one of these totes or the worm beds, just to keep the food moist. So I dampened that cardboard down, and I set that on top of the oats and the cornmeal, just to keep that moist. So it's been about 24 hours, so I'm going to pull down one of these totes here. We're going to check out the worms, see how they're doing. We're going to also check and see what the temp or the water penetration is inside the worm bed, because we want that to be remaining about 70%, so the worms stay nice and healthy. They're able to move around, eat, and they don't continue to try to escape. The reason why you put these things under a bright light for about the first 48 hours is to keep the worms down in their new habitat. This is a new home for them, so you have to tell them that's where they belong, so they'll stay down in there. So I'm going to pull up one of these buckets over here. So we'll all take a look at this together. I'll put this up just a little bit here. Okay, this is the newspaper. As a matter of fact, this dried out a little bit on the top here, so we want to make sure there's no worms on there. Give it a little shake. This is the piece of cardboard here that I said that I added right down the middle. Okay? Well, that's fantastic. If you take a close look there, you'll see that the worm food that I gave them, the cornmeal and the oats, is basically gone. There's a few little oats left, but the cornmeal is all gone out of there. As far as this roughage goes and the paper, it's settled down quite a bit. I'm going to go ahead and lift up this paper here, just throw this off into a bowl real quick here. You won't have to do this after all the time. I'm just doing this mainly for showing you what I've got going here inside of this worm bed. Okay, so I'm just going to pull all these leaves back, get them out of here. Because what's really important is your moisture content. If you're really worried about oversaturating your peat moss, you might want to go to that other style of putting some holes in the bottom of your tote and setting like a couple blocks underneath there, setting that tote on top of the other one so the water can drain away from the worms and you don't drown the worms in your tote. Okay? You make sure that you do change that water out or dump that water out of there every couple of days if you are getting too much moisture in there. So let's just take a look and see what we've got here with our worms. We did notice that we had 0 dead worms that came from Uncle Jim's earthworm farm. Every worm went down into the ground and they seem to be pretty healthy and happy. So I'm just going to take some of the soil here. I want to make sure I don't have any worms in there. Okay, I just want to squeeze it. And I feel a little bit of water out here, but I'm not really feeling any drips coming down. You want to have 2 or 3 drips coming out of that to make sure you're sitting right about 70%. And just to show you, are you able to get it close and take a look at this? I'm just going to shuffle some of this back here, just so we can see some of these worms that are in here. Oh, I found a bunch of them up over here. Okay, so here's a bunch of the worms just hanging out, eating, and these were underneath the compost area. I'll leave those back over there. You want to be kind of careful when you do this, but let's pull this up. Okay, we've got worms hanging out over here underneath the paper pile. So basically, they're everywhere in here, okay? Bunch of worms down in the side. So I think you can see those. They're little guys right now still, but we'll get them all grown up there. So what I'm going to do real quick here is I'm going to add chlorine-free water, okay? What I've done is I've taken my water, I've set it out for about 48 hours, just in some containers, just where, and leaving the lid off to where the chlorine evaporates out of it, because that does not do anything good for your worms. So I'm just going to add, since I want to bring this moisture content up in my particular earthworm, I'm going to add quite a few squirts here, because it is relatively dry and I don't want them to be dry in there. So I'm just going to go ahead and add some moisture down in here. I won't do both buckets on this video. I'm just going to do one just to kind of show what we got going here. But I just want to get this moistened up a little bit. Make sure I don't have any worms in this area, which I don't. Okay, that's a little bit damper, but we're going to need to add quite a bit more water. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and trickle some in over the top of this here, just to save a little bit of time. Alright, like I had told you before, if you don't like getting dirty, this may not be the hobby for you. So, very gently, I'm just going to be moving this soil around here a little bit, because I'm not sure if you can see in there or not, but every time I move these, there's worms. Okay? Mainly what I want to do is I want to try to work my way down into the lower end of this tub, which I'm down to the bottom right now, because I only put in, like I said, about 4 inches of peat moss down in here. Okay, and the worms are you able to look up in here? When I pull this soil back, the worms are all, you can see them down there, they're all the way down. Can you see those okay? All the way down to the very bottom of this tub. Okay, so I just want to check Make sure we have no worms in there. I don't. Okay, barely have a drop coming off right now, so I'm just going to add a little bit more moisture to this. Now I'd be elected not to put any holes in the bottom of mine because I'm going to be checking my worm bed very regular. So I'm not going to allow that to get enough to where it's going to be needing a drip pan underneath it. Okay, well that should be pretty good right there. The rest of that we'll move on down and around in there. So we'll just call that good right now on that. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to add a few things back in here, okay? First we're going to feed the worms again. And I did use a 1/4 cup of oats and a 1/4 cup of cornmeal. Since I know that that was all gone within the first 24 hours, that tells me that they might need a little bit more food. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a little bit more of each one of those products. Let's go ahead and put the mulch back on, or which is mainly the leaves that I had picked up, just down one side. And we're going to put the paper on the other. I'm only doing this here for my own. You know, a lot of the other videos you'll see that they've got the paper all the way across the top. I'm doing this to see what these worms really eat. So you and I learn this together, where they're going to be bedding at, where they're eating, what makes them the happiest. Yeah, I thought, okay, right now we know that the cornmeal was 100% success. It was all gone. There was maybe 10 or 12 flakes of the cornmeal. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take, I just put my cornmeal in a thermos. You probably got these set all over in your garage or up in your attic when they're not getting used. So I just kind of put them in there so the moisture or the dryness or whatever, bugs can't get to it. Got a little 1/4 inch measuring cup. If you don't have one, you can get these for pennies on the dollar at any store. So we're going to go ahead and just take a good 1/4 cup this time. I'm just going to make a line again right down one side here. This way we'll see what the worms do with that. And I'm going to, again, dry oats. People have already asked, are you using the microwavable ones? I'm just using the Quaker corn oats just right out of the store. Nothing special about them whatsoever. I'm going to add the exact same amount of the oats on a separate line right next to those. Okay? You can probably see that. And something else that I've heard works really well. I've not tried it yet. This is, like I said, we're doing this together. This is just coffee grounds out of my coffee pot. I've got the filter here and all. Matter of fact, if you want to, you can just take the filter, just throw it down the side and let them have that. I'm going to take about a 1/4 of a cup. I'm not going to use the measuring cup because these are still a little bit damp here. Matter of fact, these are running right about 70% moisture inside that, so that's really good. So let's say that's about a 1/4 of a cup. I'm going to put this right down the middle between those two areas. Okay? You can call that good right there. Just brush my hands off here a bit. My cardboard is still pretty damp. Got a little stick thing hanging on there. No worms on it, but I'm just going to make sure it stays damp. Add a little bit more moisture to it. Like I told you before in the previous videos, I hope you take a chance to take a look at those. And if you can go down to the button at the bottom of this video and hit subscribe. As these videos come out, you'll be notified. You get right back with us. Leave your comments, leave questions, leave anything you want to. Because like I said, this is a learning experience, and I'm sure everybody has their own way of doing this, but this is the way that we are working together to find out the best way after watching hundreds and hundreds of videos online. So I think I've taken the best of the best. I'm hoping to get this all taken care of. So once again, I'm dampening my paper, both sheets, okay, because I want that moisture to stay down in there. So we have little happy worms, so they'll breed. We later will go through and how to make a seining screen to where we can separate our worms from our castings and the castings from the eggs. So we're going to do that step by step together. We'll also learn how to make worm tea together and the benefits of that on your garden and on your lawn. So right now we're going to call that good on this in particular video. I'm going to set these guys back up here. I'm going to leave them underneath the light for another day. We'll look at them again tomorrow, see how they're doing with their food, and we'll make sure we get some more information out there, get another video out there to let you see exactly where we're going, what the worms are doing, if they're nice and healthy, if we're losing worms, if our moisture is getting too damp inside there, or if we're getting it too dry, and exactly how to keep that regulated. But you do need to keep a very close eye on these, especially for the first several days as you're learning exactly how you want to keep that moisture in there, okay? My name is Brad Reynolds. I hope you're enjoying yourself. I hope this video helps you out some. Please let me know, leave your comments, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.